welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And Mark has just sent me this puzzle to have a go at in today's video, and it looks absolutely bonkers. It's sort of a miracle Sudoku type thing. As you can see, there are no given digits and really very little else in the grid. It's called Three Snakes. And I've just read the rules, and there are no snake considerations here at all. I think the three snakes are the three green lines. But it's by Jeet Sampat, and well, I mean, it is something of a marvel to me. That it's so elegant, isn't it? I mean, it really is. A couple of cages, three green lines and a dot. That's what we get. Well, we'll have a go at this in just a moment. I've got a few things to mention though before we do. We know we need to stream again soon. Mark and a few people in chat have suggested that we should be playing a game called Keep Talking and No One Explodes or something, just to do it as a sort of one-off bit of a laugh. I don't know anything about the game. Apparently it's about bomb disposal, and it would enable Mark and I to sort of be a team, if you like. And it sounds a really good idea. So I hope we'll be able to do that very soon. Mark's voice is rapidly improving now, so probably maybe Friday. Watch this space. We'll announce it on Twitter as soon as we know. Also, some of you will have seen that earlier on today we released our first YouTube short video. This is a sort of campaign by YouTube, I think, to sort of rival TikTok, where creators can make 1 minute long videos. So I made a 1 minute long video explaining the Fistamafel ring. I'll try and remember to put a link to it there. But yeah, it doesn't give you a long time. I've discovered 1 minute. It's really a very short amount of time indeed to explain Sudoku secrets. But that's what I'm going to carry on doing. I think I've got X-Wings coming out tomorrow. So don't worry. If you're new to the channel and you're wondering what these things are, I will still explain them in videos. I just will. Other than that, Mark has made a video in which he solves the GCHQ Christmas quiz. I suppose I should show you what that is. 1 second. And this is it. So the GCHQ every year basically release a Christmas quiz. They're a lot of fun. In previous years they've been designed for adults. This one is designed for teenagers, I think, up to school leaving age. So it is slightly easier. It's still definitely interesting. And maybe if anyone watching this has got some teenagers at home with nothing to do, this would be a good thing to give them. And yeah, as I say, Mark's made a video on how to solve it all. That's available on Patreon right now. Now the other bonus we've got two more bonuses. I'm going to release a bonus video on the channel itself in the next couple of days where I make my way through the next batch of genuinely approachable pencil puzzles. I did a few of those yesterday. I think I did 7 or 8, all fantastic. And so you can see how stuck I get on those. Probably, maybe not tomorrow, maybe Thursday. Oh no, tomorrow is Thursday. I'm going crazy. I don't know when it'll be. It'll be soon. And then, of course, we have got the pyramid puzzle hunt coming up on the channel very shortly. This is it. We're going to release this at the weekend. It is an absolute marvel. It is going to, well, it's going to A, make your Christmas, I can tell you that, and B, ruin it for some of you because you won't be able to put it down. I cannot tell you how long it took me to solve it. It was hours upon hours upon hours, but I enjoyed it mightily. And that's coming out on Saturday, probably 4 PM UK time. Right, all that said and done, a lot of announcements today, but all good stuff, I hope you agree. Let's have a look at Three Snakes, and I'll read you the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Cells separated by a knight's move in chess cannot contain the same digit. So let's just stop there and check we understand that. Let's imagine the central cell of the grid was a 1. Now, if this was a chess knight, it could jump to a variety of cells, look. And therefore none of these cells could be a 1 in this puzzle, because if you did put a 1 there, they'd be a chess knight's move apart, and that's against the rules. Digits cannot repeat on the main marked diagonals. So I missed that constraint earlier, but there you go. You can't repeat a digit on that one, and you can't repeat a digit on that one. And that means that both diagonals, of course, have to contain the digits 1 to 9 once each, for there are 9 cells on a Sudoku main diagonal. Digits cannot repeat within a cage. Right, so we've only got 2 cages. and we're told that digits cannot repeat within them. So, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, that's very interesting. So we can't repeat digits within a cage. Adjacent digits on the green line must differ by at least 5. So these are so-called German whispers lines. So if we look at these two cells here, let's imagine this square was a 3. Now this square would have to be at least 5 different from 3. So it would have to be either an 8 or a 9. 7 wouldn't work because 7 is only 4 away from 3. There's a knowledge bomb for you as a bonus again. Cells separated by a black dot contain digits in a 2-to-1 ratio. So that means these two squares here, one of the cells has to be double the other one. So if that was a 4, this square could be an 8 or a 2. And that would be a legitimate way of filling that domino there. And not all such dots are given. So there could be other dominoes within the grid that have a 2-to-1 ratio. That would be fine, but we know that this domino definitely does have a 2-to-1 ratio. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm chuckling away to myself because this looks bonkers. Right, okay, but I can actually, I'm not going to do this, but I could, using my knowledge of Sudoku, write a 5 into the middle of the grid. Depending on how long this video gets, I will, or I may, prove to you why I know this is a 5. The reason I'm not going to do it immediately is that it's going to take about 15 minutes of video length to explain what's going on. I will give the very short potted version. But basically this is the Fistemafell ring, which incidentally I mentioned earlier in that video. Therefore I know that those digits are the same as these digits. Now I happen to know in a Knight's Move Sudoku, any digit that is not in the Fistemafell ring has to appear in the central cell of the puzzle, which is a slightly complicated proof, but you may be able to see why it's the case if you think about these dominoes in the corner boxes, and where whatever goes in those dominoes has to go in these boxes if you can't put them in the orange squares. And basically you end up with proving that any digit that's not in the Fistemafell ring, and therefore not in the 2x2s in the corner, has to go in the middle cell. And then you can notice that these cells in the Fistemafell ring are all on German whispers lines, and therefore cannot be the digit 5. For if you did try to put a 5 on a German whispers line, your next adjacent digit would be rather tricky indeed, because it has to be 5 different from 5, so it has to be at least 10 or 0 or lower, neither of which are valid Sudoku entries. So I know there's no 5 in the Fistemafell ring, which means that there must be a 5 in the middle of the grid, and that's how I knew that. Anyway, I thought you might like to know. Some of you I know will have known that. Some of you will think that is witchcraft or wizardry or sorcery or Gandalfness. I don't know, but yeah, that's how I know that this is a 5 or will turn out to be a 5. But I'm not going to put it in, because to rigorously prove it would involve a much longer introduction. Okay, but what we can say, that is 8 cells. Right, here we go. So this is an 8-cell cage. In other words, it contains every digit apart from 5 in it, because you can't repeat a digit within a cage, and I know there's no 5 in this cage because the whole cage is consumed by a German whispers line. Now, so the next digits I'm interested in, of course, are the 4 and the 6, because they are the most restricted. If you put a 4 in the middle of a German whispers line, then you normally break that whispers line as well, because you have to surround it by double 9. And in fact, in a cage, that's always going to be a problem. Sometimes you can get German whispers lines where you could put a 4 in the corner, because these two cells, obviously, although they're both forced to be 9, that would be legitimate if there wasn't this cage here, because these 9s don't see each other, but they do see each other via the medium of the cage, so you can't put a 4 in the middle of this line, and you can't put a 6 in the middle of it for the same reason. So within this cage we do have a 4-6 pair. Okay, and the 4 and the 6 must be next to the 1 and the 9. And then, presumably, we think next about the 3 and the 7, do we? Let's just think about that for a moment. Yeah, let's try and put the 3 somewhere other than next to the... Well, let's try and put the 3 or the 7 somewhere other than in those two cells. What does that do? The answer is it breaks the puzzle, because if this is a 3, these two squares would have to be 5 different from 3, so they have to be an 8-9 pair, and that's going to lead to too many 9s in the box. So the logic will be exactly analogous if we tried a 7 in here. You're just going to have troubles with the 1s and the 2s instead. So these two squares have to be 3s and 7s, which leaves those two squares being 2 and 8. And we have actually made some progress here. Now, this right. This is really beautiful, actually. This black dot now, what is it? Yes, what is it? Because neither of the cells on it, because of the knight's move constraint, well, this square clearly can't be a 2 or an 8. This square also can't be a 2 or an 8 because it sees both the 2 and the 8. It sees this one just by Sudoku, it's in the same box as it. That one is a knight's move away. So you can't put 2 or 8 in either of the domino cells. Now you can't put 1 in, because if you put 1 in here, you'll have to put 2, because one of the digits is double the other one. And now, what can you do? What can you put on it? You can't put 4 on it, because that's going to have to be in a relationship with 2 or 8. So it has to be a 3-6 pair. And now that means that we can... that means... Oh, I thought that was going to disambiguate this line. Hang on a moment. I'm sure it does. Let me just think about it for a second. If the 3s are there, the 6s are there. No, okay. Oh, well, it probably does. I'm embarrassing myself as usual on camera. But I can't see how to do that. Oh, bobbins. Right. That's really weird. I wonder what that's there for, if it's not to disambiguate the ordering of this cage. And actually, the other cage is a bit less appetizing, isn't it? This is sort of the roast turkey, and this is the Brussels sprouts of cages. Because... let me just think about this one for a second. Yeah, with this not being such a long German whispers line, have we got the same sort of constraint? I suppose we do a little bit, don't we? I mean, if we think about... We definitely have to put a 4 and a 6 in this cage because it's an 8-cell cage, like its friend up here, the roast turkey cage. Now, we can't ever put a 4 or a 6 in the middle of a German whispers line, so those cells are immediately ruled out. Yeah, okay, so where does this digit go in this cage? It doesn't go here because it sees this cell on the diagonal. So it would repeat on the diagonal. If we put this digit here again, we'd have a problem. It doesn't go in those two cells because they're in the same column as it. So this cell is the same as that cell. That is a forced relationship. And therefore, that square next to it must be a 1 or a 9 on the German whisper. And in fact, hang on. Now I'm going to get rid of my orange colouring because, yes, these two cells are now the same, because let's imagine this is a 6, this will have to be a 1, and that's a 6, so that will have to be a 1 as well. And of course, if that's a 4, that's a 9, if that's a 4, that's a 9. So those two digits are the same. Oh no, green is probably not a sensible thing to use. I'll use blue. In fact, I should probably make these now orange, because I know that that's probably the best for colourblindness. So now the other thing we've got to think about now is where this one goes. And that's a little bit interesting, but not quite as interesting, because this one, we know it can't go in the middle of a German whispers line, and it can't go at the end of this one because it sees it in its column. So its options are twofold. It can go here or here. Oh, right, this is sensational. This is so beautiful. Right, it's not this one. Because if this was a 4 or a 6, what would this one have to be? And the answer is 1 or 9. But it can be neither. Because this cell sees that one and this one. It sees this one by knight's move. So let's imagine, we don't know which way round this is, but it doesn't matter. If that's the 1, that's obviously the 9. This square can't be a 1 or a 9, because it's going to see this one via knight's move, that one in its row, always. So whichever way round these goes, this simply can't be a 1 or a 9, and therefore that simply cannot be a 4 or a 6. And now we ask this question again, where do the 4 and the 6 go within this 8-cell cage? Where does this one go? It's got to go up there. Which means that that cell is the same as this one by colouring, because obviously again, if this is a 6, it's got to be next to a 1. If it's a 4, it's got to be next to a 9. So I don't know whether to colour these as a duo or do what I've done up here and run the risk of running out of colours. Let's do them as singles until we get into trouble. Now, does this just keep going then? Does that mean that that cell, we definitely have to put a 3 and a 7 into the cage, don't we? Ah, okay, well that can be neither a 3 nor a 7. Yes, okay, so this cell can't be a 3 or a 7 because it sees those two cells. And again, it's seeing both of them by knight's move and Sudoku. Now, if this wasn't a 3 or a 7, therefore, you'd have a 3-7 pair here, and that's impossible because 3 and 7 are not 5 apart. So that's a 3 or a 7. Therefore, this is a 2 or an 8. Sorry, it just got interrupted. I think that's going to happen more and more over the coming days. As you can probably imagine, coming up to Christmas, there are a lot of things going on in and around the house. But anyway, what were we just doing? We were just filling in this right-hand German whispers line, and we were going, okay, so we ended up with this being a 2 or an 8 because it couldn't be, it can't be a 3 or a 7 because it sees both types of 3-7 on the other line, which is great. Now, the other thing, therefore, we should be thinking about is what... can we finish this off now? So we know this needs to have a 2... Well, we know that the digits on it are going to be 2, 3, 8 and 7. Boom, 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 boom. That's a 1 or a 9. That's a 1 or a 9. Maybe we should just colour things in. Sorry, I'm trying to get my brain back up to where it was a few moments ago. We have got to go... Let me just think about this now. So, do we know what the nature of these two digits is? Oh, I tell you what I do know. Maybe this isn't the way to think about it. Maybe it's better to think about these digits. Because those digits will have to have the same digit next to them. Because the parity of these must be the same. What I mean by that is, if this is a 6 and this is a 1, then this has to be a 7. But this is, we then know that's a 6 and that's a 1, so that also has to be a 7. So actually, probably our best bet is to colour those two digits in. I'll use red for that. And that logic must extend further, mustn't it, to these two digits, which must be the same now. I can't see how they can't be the same. Because I must retain parity. Yeah, I mean, they must be the same. Ooh, I don't really like black there. Hang on, what colours have I not used? Have I used up all of the good ones? No, I haven't. I could use green. Green, does it show up? I think it does just about. Oh, though, if these two need colouring as well, and they might do, I might be into greys and blacks for those two. Right, sorry, I'm going to abandon that again. I'm going to go back to grey for that. Third time lucky. So if this was low, this will be high. Does that mean we now know? Oh, this is very beautiful. Right. Now I think the question to ask is just where does that digit, which I'm going to make green, where does the green digit go in this cage? It must be there somewhere, and it's none of those digits, so it has to go here by Sudoku, which means this square is that one, and that will have to be the black digit. So that's 3 or 7. This is 2 or 8. And now we have coloured the whole of the ring. Now we've coloured the whole ring, I don't need Fistamafel to tell me what the central digit is anymore, do I? Because that digit, unless I'm very much mistaken, is seeing all the colours of the rainbow by Knight's moves. Well, either Sudoku or Knight's moves. Let's actually, I'm going to do it slowly. That's my first impression, is it's seeing all of them. It's definitely seeing both colours of 1, 9. It's definitely seeing both colours of 2, 8. It's definitely seeing both colours of 3, 7. And it's definitely seeing both colours of 4 and 6. So, that cannot be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 or 9. It is a 5 without us having to do any ludicrousness around the edges of the grid. Okay, and now we can do Sudoku on blues. I can see that using the Knight's move. That's a Knight's move away. That's a Knight's move away. So blue has to live in the corner of box 1. Oh, yellow sort of work. It's not sort of symmetrical, but it's sort of twisted symmetrically. Yellow, where does yellow go in box 1? Not in those cells. Not there by Knight's move from that one. Not there by Knight's move from that one. So yellow gets placed. Oh, this is going to work for loads of digits. Look, 3 and 7 get placed. Well, this red one gets placed. It can't go there by Knight's move. So that's got to be red. This one might be gettable now. Let's see. Yes, the black one. Where does the black one go? It's got to go in the corner. Oh, hang on. Right, so now we've got a whole load of even digits to place in the middle box because we've done the 5 odd ones, look. Gosh, not only is it interruptions from doorbells and the like, they've also got somebody chainsawing now downstairs. I'm sorry if you can hear that. Hopefully it won't put me off too badly. We've got... I was wondering about this diagonal now, but actually if you look along this diagonal, it's deeply unimpressive. It's really let itself down. We've just got one of every parity, but it doesn't seem to tell us what this digit is at all. So how do we make more progress here then? We've got to... It must be this, mustn't it? It must be this. So this is what I've missed. I've missed some implication. There must be some reason. This is either 3, 6 with the 3 being on top of the 6 or 6 over the 2. 6 over the 3, sorry, what am I talking about? It's because what I was doing in my head is 6 divided by 3. I don't know why I was doing that. Too much Big Brain Academy, if any of you have been playing that recently. I have no idea how to disambiguate that. There might be some big long chain we can make that would help us, but it's not obvious to me. I mean, obviously if that's a 3, there are certain things that would follow. You would know immediately the parity of the line, and if it's a 6, you'd immediately know it was the other parity. By parity, I mean it would oscillate. If this is a 6, the low digits all have to be in those positions. If this is a 3, the high digits all have to be in those same positions. You see, without knowing which of these is correct, and therefore the parity of the line, it's very hard to do Sudoku down here on these digits. Have I missed some other basic Sudoku ideas? We can't resolve these, can we? Let's just have a look at that. So if this is an even digit, I can see it's not purple, I can see it's not green, but what's to stop it being grey? And what's to stop it being orange? Nothing. I think this one, look, I think these are quite interesting. They all see two corners of the Fistemafell ring, which is where there are some even digits hidden. But then the way that the rest of the even digits are orientated around the ring, they never see more than that. 2-8 here. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So maybe we've got to think about pairs in the grid somehow. I mean, I presume, he says, trying to do the calculation in his head, that there's no sort of knight's move trickery. You see, I can see this square can't be a 1 or a 9 because it sees both colours of 1 or 9 through the medium of the knight's move with the blue. So this square can't be a 1, 9 or 2, 8. So that has to be a 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. Now, can we do better than that? I can see it's not a purple 4, 6, but it could absolutely still be an orange 4, 6. It can't be a red 3, 7, but it could be a black 3, 7, and it could be a 5. So I don't see how you limit cells like that. I really hope I'm not going to have to sort of go on a big long trawl through the whole grid to find, you know, if there's some cell somewhere that might be restricted. This diagonal looks awful as well. Ah! I keep coming back to it. It just must be this. I don't see what's going to break the symmetry if it's not this. Is it something... Maybe it's to do with the fact that it's... Is that a sensible thought? I'm wondering actually if it's this cell in relation to row 3. Is there some benefit from this cell not being able to be certain digits? Let me just think about that for a second. We can. What are the restricted digits here? That cell can't be 3 or 7. It sees both colours. So that cell not being able to be 7, is that somehow... That cell can't be a 3 or a 7 either. It sees both colours of 3 or 7 because of the knight's move. So 7 in that row is in one of two places, I think. Let's just have a look at that. 7 is in one of two places. It's almost interesting actually on this diagonal, isn't it? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it, because whichever of these is the real 7 in row 3, you can't put 7 into those two squares. Because if that's the real 7, we know that this is the same colour as this, so that would be a real 7, and you couldn't put a 7 in those two squares. But if that's a real 7, you still can't put a 7 in those two squares. So 7 on this diagonal, is that what we're meant to be considering? 7 on this diagonal is now in one of these three positions. Let me just think about this, sorry. So if It would be absolutely mighty if this was the real 7, because that would actually disambiguate the whole of this ring immediately. Is there a reason these can't be 7s? The answer is I don't know. If one of these is a 7, hang on a sec. If one of these is a 7, you can't put... actually, that is interesting in row 7, isn't it? If one of these is a 7, then we know that black is not 7, so we know this square is not 7. So where are we putting 7 in row 7? It's not in those squares, it's not here. It's not here because that sees both colours of the 3-7 pair, so 7 is knocked out. So 7 would have to be here. So if there is a 7 down here, you have to put a 7 here. Is that it? Oh, good grief. That is incredibly clever and possibly not what's intended here. It's almost too brilliant to be. Good grief, gee. Is this right? Okay, you're all going to have to tell me the easier way of doing this, but I can see that this is not a 7. And that's because if we are putting a 7 in one of those two squares, we know that the black cell is no longer a 7. So we know that the 7 in row 3 is here. But now I simply cannot put a 7 in row 7 of the grid. It can't be there, because we know that the 7 is in one of those two places on the assumption that black is not a 7. It can't be here because black is not a 7. It can't be there by Sudoku, and it can't be there because the 7 in row 3 has to be there. 7 is ruled out, and that's broken, because there will be a 7 if we correctly complete the puzzle in row 7 of the grid. So now we actually know that this is a 7. And we know in fact that's not a 7 therefore, because once we know black is a 7, we can fill black in. And therefore that's the 7 in row 3, and look what this is going to do. Every digit on the German whisper line has to be at least 5 apart. So we now know blue, we now know orange, we know green, we know that's got to go high again, so we know those, that's got to go low again, we know those, high again, we know these, 4 there, and that's the ring done. Out of nowhere. That 6 is doing the black dot. Wow, so was this black dot? Yeah, I think I've missed a trick here. I think that there is going to be a way of doing that black dot in some logical deduction I've missed. The way I used it was to rule a 7 out of this square, which, I mean, led to some lovely logic, but was very hard indeed. Now, look, we can colour this, and we can colour that as well. Now what can we do? Now we can place 6 in box 2 using the power of knight's moves. Look, boom, boom, that's got to be a 6, which places a 6 in the central box using little old Sudoku. Gee, fancy making me do... Oh, look, and I can place 6 in this one. Fancy making me do Sudoku in a Sudoku puzzle. It's an absolute outrage. So maybe we carry on with 6. Yes, we can. We can get the 6 here. And the 6 is on the diagonal, so ruled out of this square in box 9, so we can get the 6 there, and I think we're going to get all the 6s. There are now 4 6s looking at this box, and whenever you get 4 of a digit looking at a box of the Sudoku, you can always fill that digit in. That's a little tip, which is pretty obvious once you think about it, but until you do that thinking, you might not know it. 1s, 5s, and 7s up at the top of that column. The 7 sees that cell, so now this is maybe interesting. One thing I can see there is that there's got to be a 1 in this domino. And I haven't put a 1 on this diagonal yet, so there must be a 1 down there, which might be important. Or not. Okay, right, where do we look next? Where's going to be the next place we get an easy win? 4 in the middle box. That 4 sees those 2 squares, so that's got to be a 4. Let's put that in, let's purple it up, let's fill 4 in here by Sudoku, and that this one can't be a 4 because it's a knight's move away from its friend. Don't think we can get the 4 up there, but I might be wrong. Oh, I can actually, by thinking about this box and where 4 goes. 4 must be in that domino, well not domino, but it must be in one of those 2 places because this 4 rules out all of those 3 because of the knight's move. Oh, this is gorgeous, look. By placing the 4 in box 3, it sees this one now. So that forces the 4 over to that one, which places a 4 down here. Now 4 down here is probably doable. In fact, let's do it this way round. That can't be a 4 because of knight's move. So the 4's got to go here, and now the 4 goes there. And that's all the 4's done. Right, let's carry on with even digits then. We need 2. We can place 2 in the middle box. Right there. Is that helpful? Maybe. So 2 has got to be in one of 2 places in box 6. That's weird. 2 doesn't seem... Oh, no, it is. It's the same logic again. This 2 reaches into box 8 and forces us downwards. Which places 2... Oh, look. I'm going to get a 2 there. And that rules out that it's the same logic. It's absolutely brilliant, this. 2 here. But I know you want me to notice, and I did notice, I really did. Let's actually just see, though, if we can go a bit further. Yeah, look, the diagonal sees that one. So that's got to be a 2 up there, which places a 2 up here. And I did see that I'd taken the position of the 1. Have I done all the 2s? Yes. I took the position of the 1 down here, so that's got to be a 1. 1's in that domino, 1's exactly there. 1 is blue. 1 is blue there, therefore it's using our pencil marks. That places 5, places 7. 7 is the black digit. 5 is the uncoloured digit. And I can see I can write 8 in here. Let me just see if we can do any more with 1s though. We need to make these digits sweat as hard as we can, I fear. That's blue. Oh yeah, that's on the diagonal, so that's placed. This is placed. I don't believe it. That's therefore placed. I like Knight's Moves puzzles like this, you know, where you don't have to sort of sit there for 20 minutes trying to spot something awkward. Oh, 9. 9 can just be placed in box 1. And therefore 7 is needed as well. So the 9s are yellow and the 7s are the black digits. 7 must be here therefore. Those 2 squares are 5 and 8, which is actually done as well. Oh, so maybe now we move on to 8s. We know 8s are grey, don't we? So we've got to have 8s, grey 8s in those cells. And that means there's an 8 in one of these 2 cells. Now surely, he says, surely there is a way of... Can we get the 8s in here? Maybe we can't. The 8s don't seem to behave symmetrically. I'm sure I'm missing something there. There must be a way that we can get the 8s because everything else worked really nicely with the even digits. Oh well, never mind. We've got 5 and 7 into those cells. There's no knight's move resolving those. We need 3s, 8s and 9s on this diagonal. Oh, this 9 is gorgeous. It takes out that one, takes out that one. So the only place for 9 on the positive diagonal is in the corner. And we therefore need 3s and 8s into the other position. And this 3 forces that order. 3 and 8 go into the grid. 8 is grey, isn't it? No, and this grey does see into this cell, so there we go, we can do those. Now we can maybe not do those, surprisingly. These, oh, there must be a 3 in this box. I'm not certain, but it does feel like we've broken the back of this, doesn't it? 8 and 9, so that's got to be the 9 in order to make sure we're not a knight's move away from ourselves. So 9 is yellow, 8 is grey. Grey's got to be there as a result. We've just got 1 grey to place, and there are 4 greys looking at this box, so taking my own advice, we can fill that one in. 3 is placed again just by little old Sudoku. This is a 5-9 pair, that's all done. 9 there, 5 there, only the 9 gets a colour. This 9 is now forced into here by a Sudoku stroke knight's move. This square is a 7, which is, if I remember rightly, black. That square's got to be 5. That fixes the 5 and the 7. Award the black to that one. Put the black down there. Put a 3 here. And that must be a 5. That must be a 5. That must be a 3 by knight's move. And it looks like that's working. And then we're just left with putting 9 and yellow into there, like so. And that is how to solve a rather beautiful puzzle indeed, I think. Yes. Loved it. Absolutely loved it, Jeet. That is... It's a marvel. It is a marvel. Let's actually... I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to duplicate the tab and delete everything so that we can admire again that is all you get. And you can just fill it in like this. It's just extraordinary. That is a unique solution based off what seems like almost nothing. How these constructors discover these things. I mean, they are discoveries. They're almost not creations. They are things that exist in nature. And like careful archaeologists, these constructors sort of chisel away and they brush away and they find the bone and then they find a whole skeleton. And in the end, you discover that something existed in nature that is as beautiful as this. Love it. Absolutely amazing. I hope you had a go. I hope you got through it. Let me know in the comments. I do enjoy reading them, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.